Good afternoon, honourable members. The House is in committee on the Land Transport Management Amendment Bill, and the question before the committee is that Part 1 stand part. I call the honourable member Ian Lees-Galloway.
Thank you very much, Mr Chair. In this call, I would like to specifically address the supplementary order paper in my name, number 235. Now, it's clear that the divisions across the House on this bill are pretty strong. The government has just the narrowest of majorities on this bill, and the government and opposition parties, and in fact actually even the government support party, the Māori Party, are opposed to this bill, and so I imagine that a lot of the debate this afternoon will be of a fairly political nature. But I do ask members to consider this supplementary order paper closely, because this is a constructive change to the legislation that has been asked for by regional councils who will need to operate under this legislation. And it refers to transitional arrangements, moving from the current parameters under the Land Transport Management Act as it currently stands through to the new public transport operating model that is contained in this amendment bill. Now, under the new provisions, the regional councils will need to have in place a new regional public transport plan before they can contract any new public transport services. However, those plans are not due to come into place until 1 July 2015. That's the latest that the legislation allows for them to come into place. And having spoken to the regional councils, that is the appropriate time. There is a considerable amount of work required to get those regional public transport plans written up and in place. They will not be in place before then. However, for at least 7 of our regional councils, their current contracts with public transport providers are going to come to an end after the amendment bill is passed, but before the regional public transport plans are in place. And that means they have some difficulty in determining under what parameters they are contracting those new services. In fact, in discussions with the New Zealand Transport Agency and the government, the regional councils have been advised that the best way forward for them is simply to roll over the current contracts. Now, in the first reading debate, Julianne Genter talked about how the public transport operating model supports the current operators. It's monopolistic in its tendencies. This transition period is even worse for that, because essentially the operators will be able to dictate terms to the regional councils about how those contracts are rolled over. There will be no competition at all if this transitional period is not agreed to. And that means that ratepayers are going to be paying far too much for their public transport. It means that the operators will have the regional councils over a barrel. And I don't think that that is the situation that anybody seriously wants to have happen. And so in the spirit of constructive bipartisan efforts to try and make what is a bad bill as good as possible, I have tabled this amendment to bring exactly that type of transitional period into place, whereby the regional councils would be able to contract new services under the current arrangements provided for under the current Act, up until the new regional transport plans are brought into place, and then those contracts can only run through until the 30th of June 2017. So by the 30th of June 2017, everybody will be operating under the new PTOM model. And that's, I think that reflects the consensus that the operators certainly believe exists out there. The regional councils want to work with the government. They don't want to be, kind of in opposition to the government. They don't want to be seen to be working against central government. They want to work alongside them. But the only way for regional councils to effectively work alongside central government is for this amendment laid out on supplementary order paper number 235 to be passed. So I do ask that members give it serious consideration, particularly government members. I know there has been a lot of conversation between the regional councils and the NZTA, but this is an opportunity for central government and local government to work together.